This is the ELA and Mathematics training module for the 2019-20 school year, which is required for all district and school test coordinators as well as ELA and Mathematics test administrators. I'm Tony Bertrand, the ELA Assessment Specialist.
And I'm Andy Byerly, Math Assessment Specialist. The topics we will be covering in this module include scheduling ELA and math assessments, administering the ELA and math assessments appropriately, key elements and features related to online testing, and available resources. References to specific sections of test administration resources are included within each slide where applicable. These resources are also hyperlinked at the end of this presentation. We encourage you to bookmark these resources in your browser, as well as the ODE Student Assessment homepage for future reference. Let's get started. Our first topic is scheduling. When considering scheduling, ensure that students have sufficient time to complete both parts of each assessment. Test coordinators are responsible for setting and managing any school-level test windows to ensure that every student is appropriately tested. For our ELA and math assessments in grades 3 through 8, there is a requirement that testing must begin after 66% of the instructional days have passed, based on the school's academic calendar. This is to ensure that students are tested after they have had the opportunity to learn, that is, to receive at least 2/3 of the planned instruction for the year. The high school ELA and math assessments do not require this instructional threshold to be met, only that students have received the instruction needed to demonstrate on the summative assessment what they know and can do relative to the Oregon standards. All other assessments may begin as soon as the statewide testing window opens. School-level test windows help schools manage local testing schedules and resources for the remaining state tests. Guidance and specific criteria for school-level test windows are addressed in Section 5.2 of the Summative Test Administration Manual, or TAM. One important clarification to note: for the purposes of reporting student participation in accountability calculations, every school will be held accountable for ensuring that all students enrolled on the first school day in May have been tested, regardless of the school-level test window. Students who enroll after the first school day in May will not be included in the school's accountability calculations. The 2019-20 ELA and Mathematics statewide test window runs from January 8th through June 7th, 2020. High school students may start testing at the beginning of the test window. And as mentioned on the previous slide, school-level test windows for students in grades 3 through 8 must not begin until at least 66% of a school's annual instructional days have been completed. These test windows must last for at least 4 calendar weeks. From the time he or she begins a test, a student has 45 calendar days to complete the Computer Adaptive Test, or CAT, and 20 calendar days to complete the Performance Task, or PT. After these days, a student's test will expire. For more information about school-level test windows, please refer to Module 1 of this training and Section 5.2 of the TAM. For clarification and recommended best practices regarding expiration periods, please refer to Section 6.4 of the TAM. Here are some guidelines and best practices for scheduling ELA and math summative assessments. Both assessments consist of 2 parts: the CAT, or Computer Adaptive Test, and the PT, or Performance Task. The CAT and the PT sections of the test should be given on separate days. Students should finish one before starting the other. It is recommended, but not required, that the CAT be administered before the performance task. Whichever is administered first, students should not have both the CAT portion and the PT portion of the test open at the same time. ELA performance tasks may be given over multiple sessions. It is recommended that the math performance task be administered in one session. Neither portion of the test is timed, so students should be allowed to continue working as long as they are making progress. The CAT is adaptive, which means the question difficulty adjusts as the student works through the test, providing either easier or more difficult items based on correct and incorrect student responses. Students will interact with different items such as multiple choice, hot text or text highlighting, drag and drop, and matching. Some items are technology enhanced or enabled to allow students to enter an equation or create a graph. Performance tasks typically require extended thinking and reasoning by students. In the ELA performance task, students will access multiple resources. In both ELA and math performance tasks, students are given short answer questions in order to break the larger task into smaller items.
Using last year's data and ODE's new guidance document, Testing Help is providing guidance around scheduling sessions for testing and the recommended number of sessions general education students should be given. The following 3 slides apply to this topic.
As in previous years, ODE will provide a Grade 12 ELA and/or mathematics retest option for Grade 12 students to meet the essential skills graduation requirement or for college placement purposes. While retests are not mandatory, districts should make the option available for those students who wish to retest.
This next section covers administration guidelines, which ensures equitable access for all students. Prior to administering the ELA or mathematics assessment, ensure that the following steps have been taken prior to student login. 1. The test administrator has the approved directions for beginning the assessment. 2. The test administrator has activated the correct subject and content components. 3. All necessary non-embedded supports are appropriately provided for student access. Scratch paper continues to be a non-embedded universal tool. However, please note that scratch paper may not be retained for the CAT portion and is only allowable for being retained for the PT segment. To retain scratch paper, TAs must direct students to write their names on their scratch paper and then collect and inventory the scratch paper at the end of each test session. Retained scratch paper must be kept in a securely locked room or cabinet that can only be opened by authorized staff. Upon completion of the test, scratch paper must be securely destroyed. Pause rules. Tests can be paused at any time. If a CAT test is paused less than 20 minutes, students may review questions already answered. If the CAT test is paused for more than 20 minutes, students may not review or change questions already answered. Pause rules continued. If the assessment is idle for over 20 minutes, the system will automatically pause the test. During the CAT segment of the ELA and mathematics assessment, if a test is paused for more than 20 minutes, the student is required to log back into the student interface. Students will return to the item they were working on or subsequent item if they submitted their response. Students may not be permitted to review or change previously answered items. There are no pause restrictions for the ELA and mathematics performance task. If a test is paused for 20 minutes or more, the student can return to the section and continue typing their response. Please note that students may not navigate between Segment 1 and Segment 2 on the ELA performance task. This next section covers key elements on the ELA and mathematics summative assessment, in order for educators to know the different resources across assessments. Oregon's summative ELA assessment combines 4 elements, or claims, of ELA into one test: reading, writing, listening, and research. Students will receive an overall composite score and subscores for each individual claim. Listening items will require each student to have headphones. Students at all tested grades will be required to participate in a performance task, which will require them to write an extended essay. Check the Oregon Accessibility Manual for specific allowable supports.
The Oregon statewide math assessment is created around a blueprint that combines 4 claims into one test. Claim 1 is concepts and procedures. Claim 2 is problem solving. Claim 3 is communicating reasoning. and Claim 4 is Modeling and Data Analysis. Students will receive an overall composite score as well as subscores for each claim. It should be noted that Claims 2 and 4 are reported together. A Desmos calculator is embedded within some items in grades 6 through 8 and grade 11. In grade 6, a 4-function calculator is available. In grades 7 and 8, a scientific calculator is available. And in grade 11, a graphing calculator is available. More information about the specific functionality of these calculators can be found on the Desmos website at www.desmos.com/testing/Oregon. For more information on specific allowable supports, please refer to the Oregon Accessibility Manual. Our final topic to share is resources to adequately prepare teachers and students. There are 2 different simulations available through the OSAS portal. First is the training test, which is aligned to grade bands. Training tests include 6 to 9 questions and are designed to allow students to try out embedded tools and supports, as well as to interact with each of the different item types. For ELA training tests, available grade bands are grades 3 through 5, grades 6 through 8, and high school. For math training tests, available grade bands are grades 3 through 5, grade 6, grades 7 through 8, and high school. The second simulation is the sample test, which is aligned to specific grades. Sample tests provide a look at grade-specific operational assessments. Sample tests include approximately 30 items that vary in difficulty, as well as a performance task. Scoring guides for these sample tests are available on the OSAS portal under the Resources tab. Both training and sample tests include all embedded universal tools, designated supports, accommodations, and language supports. To most effectively use training and sample tests, it is helpful to consider their purpose. Use the training test if you want to familiarize students with how to navigate the test, including universal tools and embedded supports. Also, use the training test to help students learn how to interact with each of the different item types. The training test should not be used to look at grade level content or items at the appropriate level of difficulty. To do this, use the sample test. Use the sample test if you want students to see grade level items and practice responding to them, and if you want students to experience items across all claims and you want students to have practice on a performance task. Several documents outline the structure of the Oregon statewide assessments for ELA and mathematics. Links to access these resources are provided at the end of this slideshow, and educators should spend time looking at these materials to help inform how they prepare students to be successful on the tests. Test blueprints indicate the number of items included on both the CAT and the performance task, how the test is scored, and the depth of knowledge intended to be used by students when answering items. Content specifications list all assessment targets within each claim, as well as the ELA or math standards aligned to those targets. Item specifications provide task models and appropriate stems for each item type and are broken out by grade level, claim, and target.
Q&A discussion. This is an optional point in the required training to pause and discuss the questions provided, or to discuss locally developed sets of relevant questions. If you would like to pause, please do so now. In addition to the information shared in this presentation, there are some online resources available. The OSAS portal provides both training and sample test. For more information on assessment blueprint design, including academic targets and the number of items from each claim, visit the ELA and Math Assessment websites. The Test Administration Manual and the Oregon Accessibility Manual provide technical support for districts, schools, and educators. In addition to these resources, please visit www.osasportal.org.
To access summative assessment data, visit the OSAS portal and log in with your username and password. Select Test Administration, then click Online Reporting System. The Online Reporting System, or ORS, provides educators access to 3 distinct reports: Overall Proficiency Reports, Claim Level Proficiency Reports, and Target Reports. Overall Proficiency Reports identify the number of students proficient or higher in both math and English language arts. Claim Level Proficiency Reports identify the number of students in each achievement level by content claim. Using these claim level reports, an educator could see how many students are performing below proficiency, nearly meeting, proficient, or exceeding in each of the 4 ELA and mathematics claim areas. Target reports show the performance of groups of students on grade level targets compared to proficiency, as well as which of these targets are relative strengths and weaknesses on the assessment as a whole. As district test coordinators, you have access to these reports and can provide them for schools and teams in your district. You may also wish to grant District Report Viewer or School Report Viewer access to additional educators in the district so they can access these reports on their own. For more information and resources on how to use target reports to identify systems-level strengths and weaknesses, please visit the posted bit.ly address. This concludes the required ELA and Mathematics Summative Assessment Training module for the 2019-20 school year. Thanks for joining us.